Now we're going to Germany. The discussions for a third political force to challenge what has become Ghana's traditional political parties, the NDC and the NPP, is still just talk at the moment. But in Germany, traditional parties seem to be losing their hold on people gradually. This weekend, the German eastern province of Thuringia saw voters delivering big gains for the far right and the far left parties in state elections to the detriment of traditional parties. Although it's one province, the political consequences of the elections are significant and national. Let's get a better understanding of the situation from Emmanuel Chase in Berlin. She's political correspondent with our partners, DW. Emmanuel, it's good to have you today. Now, we're talking about a state election. Give us a brief of what happened in Thuringia on Sunday.
Hi, Gifty. Well, the biggest takeaway from that election on Sunday, you mentioned it, is the big gain for the far left and the far right party. The far left came ahead of the ruling party in the region, which was the Conservative Party of Angela Merkel, and that result just shows how polarized the voters are, and it really shows a real distrust towards traditional and more centrist parties. Now, those centrist parties are no more fragile than ever, because it's not just one state election at stake. It shows that there's a wider pattern, a pattern that we've witnessed in all the all the state elections this year, and a pattern that shows a nationwide trend of distrust towards towards traditional party, and that allows for a whole new shaping of the political landscape here in Germany, with a prospect of alliance between parties that don't usually work together, and with some that usually also don't have enough votes to be influential in local parliament. So what we are seeing now through that local election is a reshuffle of the political landscape.
A reshuffle of the political landscape. Like I said, in Ghana, we're talking about it, but we're yet to be there, even though we're just dealing with predominantly two political parties. But Chancellor Angela Merkel's coalition has been shaky from day one since the last election. Where does this leave her coalition government?
Well, like I was saying, the local results are symptomatic of a nationwide trend showing a clear distrust of voters towards the governing coalition parties, the Conservatives of Angela Merkel and the Social Democrat. Now, if you look at this coalition government after those state election results, it will have to prove itself even more in front of the voters. And the thing is that, in fact, it has already fulfilled more than 2/3 of its electoral promises, but we see that the distrust of the people towards the government is bigger than the facts, and that leaves the government in a much uncertain place.
So then, fulfilling election promises alone doesn't seem to be even holding it together for the Merkel coalition. Interesting how that will pan out here in Ghana next year when we have our own elections. But speaking of who leads the country next, again, for us here in Ghana, it's going to be pretty much a choice between the current president, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, and the former president, John Mahama, who wants to come back to be a president. But for Germany, Emmanuel, what are the consequences of these election results beyond the country?
Well, there's a lot of uncertainty towards the future. Which leader for Germany will be in place after Angela Merkel's last mandate in 2 years' time? It's something that no one can answer here in Germany. And in the broader perspective in Europe, for example, there's also uncertainty as if Merkel leaves, that will be a destabilizing factor for Europe, because Germany is usually seen as the most politically stable nation in Europe. And this is changing with the rise of populism everywhere, but also, and in particular, in Germany, because as the most stable country of Europe, then the European centrist partners would be losing their momentum if their German counterparts are losing elections.
Well, hopefully that won't happen. But even if it does, then hopefully there would be another country that takes up that position. And we've had conversations about Emmanuel Macron of France being that person. Whether or not that will happen, we don't know. But Emmanuel, thank you very much for bringing us up to speed on the political situation in Germany. And hopefully we've seen how that compares to our situation here in Ghana. Emmanuel Chase, she is political correspondent with our partners, DW. She joins us all the way from Berlin in Germany on our usual weekly cross. This is still The Pulse with me, Gifty and Apia.